All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to KZUU. I am DJ Justin. I'm the host of From Strangers to Friends every Tuesday at 10 a.m. And today I am joined by ASHLYNN Malia talking about her new EP, Navigating Galaxies. Welcome
Yes.
in.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
How's your day going so far?
It's going pretty well. It's been a slow day. It's finally like sunny in LA, so I'm planning on like trying to get as much fresh air as possible later.
Okay, awesome,
First
awesome.
day, so
I
feels
know
right.
it's finally a nice day up here too, so I'm pretty
Nice.
excited about it.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we'll start with one of the most basic interview questions of all time. What started your interest in music? Is there anyone in particular that started you on this path, or was it more of like a
Um,
self-found love?
I was definitely helped onto the path, but I was obsessed with music as soon as I was born. I remember my mom telling me that like we used to live in New York, and I remember my mom telling me that when we'd be on like the subway, I'd be like the singing baby and just like singing at the top of my lungs, and she couldn't get me to shut up.
Mhm.
At one point, I think they were like pushing me around in a stroller, and I was singing, and they couldn't get me to stop. So my dad just put like a cup in my hand to see if anyone would tip me. I don't think they did, but happens.
Mhm.
But yeah, it just kind of grew from there. But pretty much from birth, I've been
Okay.
into it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And so with that, when did you start like learning instruments? I know you kind of demonstrate your capability as a multi-instrumentalist on Navigating Galaxies. What kind of started your path into like, playing instruments?
Um, Definitely when I was a kid, my family had a music school. So they ran a business where they would teach music to people of all ages. Um, and I was kind of like the test kid. So when we had a new teacher come in, it would be like, okay, Ashton's going to take a lesson and like, we'll see how it goes.
Hmm.
And so I ended up, taking lessons from all sorts of teachers who taught like bass or guitar or drums and that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's where I learned.
That's awesome. That's like, I don't know, not a very common experience. So that's really
No, I
cool.
don't think it is. But I enjoyed it very much, and I feel super grateful, especially now that like I at least know the basics of a lot of instruments. I wish I was better, and I would love to like keep learning because I feel pretty, you know, mediocre at them. But
Mhm.
it works well enough to write songs with. So
Yeah, exactly. So what instruments do you play? Like, what instruments do you think you have a good enough capability to where you'd be like, okay, I can put this on a track?
I can play guitar, I can play piano, I can play ukulele. Um, Bass is iffy at the moment because I haven't been practicing, same as drums. But if I did, I could get myself there. But
Yeah,
those are my instruments.
you could lay something down in a pinch.
I could do it. I could.
Yeah.
I believe in myself.
So you mentioned a lot throughout a lot of your social media posts and just kind of like in general how you like to connect with your audience. What ways do you feel like you do that, and why do you feel like it's so important for artists to have like a connection with their audience?
I love that question. Yeah, I personally started writing music because I felt really alone.
Mhm.
And I felt like there was nobody who understood me. I felt like there was nobody who had similar experiences as I did. And it was super isolating. And just like that isolation, like I was like spiraling into a depression because of it. So I think I started writing music just as a way of first expressing myself. And then I started listening to music almost to like find pieces of what I was going through, just to know that I wasn't alone and that somebody else that existed had also been through the same thing. Um, so I think when I write my songs, I'm writing with like first of all the intention of being as honest about my situations as possible as far as the feelings go, because I would hope that somebody randomly stumbles across it at some point and was like, this is exactly what I needed to hear today. Now I know that this isn't a experience that's just like mine to deal with alone. Lots of people have been through it, and at least one person can understand me.
Mhm.
And that can, like, not to be dramatic, but that can save a life.
Yeah, no,
But
for
on a
real.
less dramatic note, it's just comforting.
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's really sweet.
Thanks.
Speaking of social media and all that, how do you feel it's kind of affected your career now and going forward? And like, what do you think the impact of stuff like TikTok and Instagram is on artists today rather than artists before?
Sorry, can you repeat that last part? I couldn't hear it great.
Oh, sorry. So speaking of social media, how do you feel like it's affected your career now and going forward? And like, what do you think the effect of things like TikTok and Instagram are in terms of like the good and the bad?
Okay. Well, definitely like a lot of my like the first job I ever really had in the industry very much pushed social media, which was great. Like, you want to share your personality so that people can connect with you on more than just your work. And honestly, it's such a preference. Some artists do not like putting themselves out there on social media. And are like, that's not the point of why I do this. I don't want to be an influencer or a content creator. I just want to make art. And
Mhm.
the issue is there a lot of the time, like the only way to get that art that you love to create seen is to put it out there on social media, and also to like almost market yourself so that people want to pay attention to your art so that you can keep doing it. So like it's tough
Mhm.
because you don't, or at least I don't always appreciate making such like quick and disposable content
Yeah.
to promote the things I work for months on. It
Mhm.
kind of just like, to me, is work that I don't always want to do. I'd rather keep like working on the projects that just mean a lot to me. But I understand the importance of it, and I also understand, like with my whole like love of connection, that like that is a way to reach out to people. And you know, it's good and it's bad. It is helpful and it's frustrating. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like the ultimate double-edged sword. It'll kill you if you do it.
Absolutely.
It'll kill you if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. I know some
Uh,
people are like, it's soul crushing. I think there's a way to make it not soul crushing, but you just have to work a little harder at it.
yeah. Okay. So in that kind of vein, so being a smaller artist trying to make a name, what are some of the challenges that you may not have been aware of when you first decided to pursue a career in music?
Mm, having patience.
Yeah.
Having patience and also like letting go of outcomes, which is something that like I think I'm learning this year mostly. Like last year and this year, that's been my big lesson, is just like completely letting go of outcomes. Like being very aware of the reason that I make music and not getting frustrated when it doesn't yield a certain result, when like the privilege is making music in the first place.
Hmm.
And sometimes I find it hard to be grateful that I can do that when I have all these other goals tied to it. So I've been doing a lot of work to like let go of like my attachment to like, I guess, the results end of having a music career, and just like being as present as possible in the fact that I get to like wake up, I have ideas, I have people who will help me bring those ideas to life, and that's good enough for me right now.
Yeah. So you're just kind of enjoying the process more than like
Trying
anything.
to. Yeah.
Yeah. The journey more
Yes.
than the destination.
Yeah, exactly. But like I want to do this for the rest of my life. And so it's like it's very easy to get caught up in like making sure that's possible, and like, a strategic or business side of it, social media as well. But like I think like putting work towards that is great, but just like not with like everything riding on the fact that, things have to turn out a certain way in my life. Like I'm just gonna like do the things that I think are going to like, I guess, get me out there. And also make my work the best it can possibly be. And then just be like, "Ooh, whatever happens, happens. I know I've done my best."
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. So kind of pivoting from there. So obviously your new EP, Navigating Galaxies, came out. Uh,
Yep.
so what was the process of that? What was it like making that EP?
Um, it was very cool. It was interesting. We had a lot of stuff to figure out, because like me and my producers definitely have a quality standard. And so when I came to them and I'm like, I want to do something all on voice memos, they're like, okay, but we need to make it not sound shitty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, fair, I understand. But yeah, that whole thing, that like idea came about when I was like walking around Nashville, I think, listening to just some like voice memos of songs that I had written, because I like to write songs while I'm walking and like moving around. I think I have better ideas than when I'm like sitting down.
Mhm.
So I was listening to them. I'm like, honestly, it kind of sounds nice to just listen to these as voice memos. Like there's something very peaceful about it. There's something very, very honest about it. And I'm like, what if I made an EP of just like things that sounded a bit more like this? Like I know that if an artist that I loved, especially if I loved their writing, did that, I would eat that shit up.
Mhm.
So I'm like, you know what? Why not? Let's just go for it. Like it's an idea in the back of my head. Then I like a few months later, maybe like 1 month later, broke my foot.
Oh man.
Um, and like was stuck on my couch, had to get surgery. Like it was a bad injury. And I was just like, you know, stuck sitting down and just like thinking and being with my own thoughts, being with myself all the time with like no ability to move or get out of the house or anything like that. So it kind of like stemmed from like the writing was very like, you know, um, reflective. I
Mhm.
was just kind of like, going through some things that that happened in my past mostly. And I was just like, thinking about everything in retrospect and bigger picture stuff. So that's a lot of the things that I was writing about with that EP. And then like I did a lot of the recording from home because I had to.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it kind of worked out for the best. Like, everyone was away. It was like, winter break. Everyone was in their hometown. So it was like a lot of like back and forth, me sending things, them making it sound a little bit better, but still like it was all recorded through voice memo and that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Okay. No, that's, I don't know. I think that idea is just really cool, like the whole voice memo idea. I don't
Thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, of course. So from some of your Spotify footage and your social media stuff, it appears that you may have recorded some of your stuff in like an abandoned water tower.
Yes.
So how did you learn about the water tower? How did that like
That
if you can tell me?
Of course, no, that was a brainstorm between me and my producers actually.
Hmm.
We were like, okay, a lot of these songs that I have, you know, if we're going to do a full voice memos EP, it would be nice to play with it a little bit
Hmm.
because people have like released voice memo quality things before. They've done like certain methods of recording them, that kind of stuff, but we're just like, why not take it like a little bit further and record different tracks in different places,
Hmm.
see, because like see how that changes the sound quality. And for a song that's a little bit more like spacey, ethereal, whatever, we're just like, what if we had like, we didn't like do any like echoey stuff like on the production side of it, but just like had it there and like recorded it in a very like open space with a lot of echoes and just like captured that feeling like through the recording.
Hmm.
um so they knew about the water tower. It was like part of a hike that they had been to before.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so we all hiked there one day and recorded Navigating Galaxies in
All right, that's awesome.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of cool that they just found that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you know, kind of looking at your music career in broader terms, like what's your end goal? At the end of the day, are you just hoping kind of like hoping to leave an impact? Are you hoping to like, play a certain festival, play a certain venue, something like that?
Ooh. I am hoping to bring a lot of different creative sides of myself together
Mhm.
and almost like create a world for my music to live in.
Okay.
Um, I think about like I really enjoy being the director of my own music videos, or at least just like being, very, very, very involved with the like creation of all of the visuals for my music. Um, I sorry, I'm just thinking and talking at the same
You're
time.
all good. You're all good.
I like bringing, like the colors that I'm seeing while I'm making the music, the images, because I think a lot of times when I'm writing a lyric, I see imagery. When I'm writing certain like melodies, I see, just like almost like cinematic scenes going on in my head while I'm doing that. So I like bringing them to life in some way. Usually the vision changes as we're going, but like at some point, like having like visuals to pair with it is very important to me, and I think it just makes the whole experience more immersive. It makes the music easier to understand, and I really want to do that with live shows as well.
Mhm.
Like I'm so excited to tour at some point. I think that's one of my biggest goals is to like tour a lot because I love traveling. I want to see as much of the world as I can, and I also want to connect with as many people as I can and bring them into my world. So
Yeah,
that's my end.
no, that's a great angle. So I know it might be like trying to pick a favorite child or something like that, but do you have like a favorite song that you've recorded or like a favorite one off of the EP or anything like that?
Off of this EP, I think that my favorite song that we recorded, and you know what? I do have favorite children, and that's okay. Um, I do. And my favorite is definitely From the Moon. I think that one's like the closest to my heart and the most like relatable to me still. Um, but I'd say my second favorite child off of this EP is Habit.
Okay. Yeah, no, my favorite is definitely also From the Moon.
Okay, great. Okay,
Absolutely
cool.
beautiful
We're
song.
in agreement. Thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, kind of talking about your career so far, you were on an episode of Jam in the Van, and one of your songs, "Desperate," was featured on an episode of The Stand. Uh,
Yes.
how were those experiences, and like, how did those kind of come to be? And I don't know, just kind of how did those come to be?
Okay, so first was The Stand. That was back in 2020.
Hmm.
I was getting my learner's permit for driving the day that I got the like call being like, we want your song to be on the stand, like let's figure out licensing and all this kind of stuff. So I'm sitting like I just remember like I have such a vivid memory of like sitting. I had decided the day before to get my to get my permit. So like I didn't know anything about the rules. So I was like scrolling through like the manual like online and then also
Hmm.
going back and forth to being like talking to like managers and being like, okay, how do I license my music? How do I make sure this like, you know, I don't get screwed over here and like that this like is a good deal and like something that's beneficial and all this kind of stuff and like what information do I have to send them to make it happen? And so I just remember being like, there's a lot of information coming at me at once. But it all ended up working out. And then I just remember, I think it was like December that the episode aired. And I was a bit emotional because I was just like, this is like TV. This is like TV that people watch. And I have like countless times watched, you know, shows and been like heard the music in the background. And I'm just like, okay, like those are musicians. Like their song is like very much part of the world now.
Hmm.
And I think to see my own lyrics that I wrote like in my childhood bedroom being on such a popular TV show was really sick and
Yeah.
I don't know, very encouraging. And I was excited about it for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and then Jam in the Van was back in 2022. That was a good ass time. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. It was just like me, my producers were my band. That van is cool as fuck.
Uh-huh.
There's stickers everywhere. They treated you so well. And we just like did a little 3 song set. Um, and that see the videos like a couple months later.
That
But
sounds,
it was
yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I don't know. Just both of those experiences are so cool.
yeah. Also like I love the idea of the whole van thing. Like whoever came up with that, like completely deck out a van, make it like possible for music to sound really good in there. Also make it just visually like very pleasing and just such a cool like music venue. A
Hmm.
plus. A plus. I loved being there.
Definitely got to give props to them.
Yes.
So I have found that many artists have like pretty interesting music tastes. What are some songs you're listening to right now, and any that you think deserve more recognition?
My music
I feel like
taste.
you're a little hesitant.
Well, okay. I I get scared of sharing my music taste because I'm also around a lot of musicians with very cool, very obscure music taste. And like I appreciate that stuff a lot, but I also really appreciate some very mainstream shit. Um
Yeah, don't we all?
yeah, I've
There's a
been
reason it's mainstream.
true. I've been listening to a couple different genres. The thing I'm currently obsessed with is the new Boy Genius record.
Mhm.
Um a couple of those songs just really like, shot an arrow through my heart in a really good way. So I love that. I've also been like listening to a lot of pop. Sabrina Carpenter's new album has a lot of great songs,
Mhm.
and I like vibing to those. Um, and quite a bit of musical theater as well.
Oh, okay. So are you a big musical theater person?
I don't know a lot about it. I never was in the theater world, but like every now and then I'll just like come across a soundtrack and listen to a couple songs and be like, wow, that's good. I'm gonna
Mhm.
put that on my playlist now. So
Nice.
it's a little bit of a mess. But yeah, that's my
Nice.
current music taste.
Okay. Okay. So I think that should be about it. Is there anything else you would like to promote while you're here? Anything you want to shout out?
Ooh, no, that's about it at the moment. Like we're working on some new stuff, which I'm excited about. But I guess as far as we know right now, just keep streaming, navigating galaxies. I very much hope that the experiences that I'm writing about are experiences that other people have had too and can relate to their own lives and feel like they wrote it themselves.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and hopefully, this is the beginning of, I don't know. Hopefully, in a few years, I'll be able to say, "Oh, I interviewed her when she, was still a small artist."
Thank you. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's
Yeah.
exciting to think
Of
about.
course. All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Bye.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.